name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch.
Rob Jarrell.
And today we're going to recap this past weekend's boxing action, which we had on HBO. We had Matthysse-Postol versus Matthysse for a vacant light welterweight title. And on Showtime, we had Adrien Broner versus Broner-Allakhverdiev.
Yes.
Got it right. Haha. For another vacant light welterweight title. These titles became vacant when Danny Garcia moved up to the 147-pound division. He had the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO, correct? Yeah, because Lamont Peterson has the IBF.
Yes.
We're not even going to get into that. So, let's talk about these two pretty decent fights where we had one star in the making and one star trying to come back. We're going to start with Matthysse-Postol. Take it away, Rob.
Alright, so this was a huge step up for Postol. I think his best win to date was versus
probably Selçuk Aydin.
Yeah, Aydin, who I believe he knocked out
in the 10th round, I believe. Yeah.
Versus a guy who has been around the block maybe 3 or 4 times and fought a who's who in the 140-pound division. Now, the favorite going in was Matthysse because you've seen plenty of them. He's knocked out a lot of his opponents. He's the most experienced. But we need to know, do those wars or do those fights take a toll on him? Because he is a pressure fighter. Now, he can box, which you saw he did versus Provodnikov. But he's going against a guy in Postol who is like 6 feet tall, and he doesn't have a lot of power. I think up until this point he had like 11 knockouts out of 20-something fights, or like 20 fights. So it's not a lot of power, but he's very skilled. And in this fight, he really showed that skill. He ended up knocking out Matthysse in the 10th round. With a right hand that he caught Matthysse coming in. And if you watch the video, we were saying that he needs to pretty much just outbox Matthysse, using that long reach, setting him up with the jab, and catch him coming in, because Matthysse is the kind of guy, because he's a shorter fighter, and he has a tendency to lunge with his shots, especially his right hand.
Alright, now if you didn't catch the preview video, it was a quick counter that Rob did. Unfortunately, we were not able to get together and do it together, and we do apologize for that. But you picked Matthysse, correct?
Yes, I picked Matthysse because Postol I didn't think had the experience to really go up against a guy like Postol. But I said, look out for him, because this guy, he was tough. He could go. He showed that he could throw those punches and pretty much match at least the output, if not the power.
Yeah. So how did he come about with this knockout? With a little thing called footwork. If you are a fan of this channel, you know how much we talk about the importance of footwork. It's not all about how you throw your hands. It's also how you set up, how you throw your hands. And in this fight, Postol was an absolute master of the range of which he wanted to fight, and to keep Matthysse from landing effectively on him. He varied the distance. He closed that distance very quickly when he needed to. Early on, it took him maybe like 2 or 3 rounds to really get that distance right. There were a lot of clinches. There were actually a lot of clinches during the whole fight, but there were a lot of unnecessary ones early on in the fight because both guys were trying to find their range.
That's right.
But Postol was able to find his range, and then he began darting in and out, using lateral movement, and baiting Matthysse in to where he would lunge, like Rob said, and lunge himself into range for Postol to hit him, even though Matthysse could not hit Postol. It was beautiful work. He also threw a lot of combinations. While he isn't one that has vaunted power, when you're getting peppered accurately, that stuff adds up. And you can see the damage piling up on Mathisse's face. similar to when he fought Ruslan Provodnikov. Matthysse boxed him well, piled up points, landed good shots, busted Provodnikov up. Now he's the one getting busted up. He's getting more desperate. He's starting to lunge in a lot more. And also, Postol took advantage of two things. When they got close, Matthysse would always square up, blunting his power. Secondly, when he moved laterally, Matthysse would cross his legs. Now that was a flaw that Danny Garcia exploited as well. It was already there, and that's part of the reasons why he lost to Devin Alexander and Zav Judah. It's a flaw that has not been fixed yet, and people with better footwork than him will be able to exploit that until he does. Anything else you want to add?
Well, the other thing was Postol was not afraid of Matthysse. When Matthysse was starting to get a rhythm going, I believe it was like the 6th or 7th round, where he started landing that, trying to get that overhand right and leading with the left hook. What he did, again, controlling the distance and not just throwing a single jab at a time. He would double and triple up the jab, throw right behind it, and just throw the combinations. Again, controlling the distance, controlling your opponent, all ring generalship.
Yeah, and finally the knockout. It was picture perfect. You could see him looking for the shot. He was just waiting for Matthysse to take that chance to try to hit him, knowing he was out of range. And he did it. He baited him right into it. He lunged with that punch. I think it was a left. He lunged with the left hook, missed the left hook, was wide open for Postol's right hand, which he had cocked and ready to fire. And there was no wind up or anything. It was straight technical toolbox episode 1. Shift the body, snap the shoulder, right hand to the eye, damaging Matthyse's eye and rendering him unable to finish the fight. So now we have to see what happens next with Postol. There are a lot of people in the 140-pound division. Most notably, probably the consensus #1 guy right now is Terrence Crawford. And they're both under the same promotional banner, so we may be seeing that fight soon after Terrence Crawford deals with Darius Jean in a couple weeks. Next fight, we're talking about Adrien Broner returning off his loss to Sean Porter against Broner-Allakhverdiev, who was coming off a loss to Jesse Vargas at the beginning of 2014. Two fighters coming off a loss, fighting for a title. If you watch the broadcast, they gave you a little bit of history, because I think the last time that happened was, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago. They mentioned the fighters, and then they said before that it was like almost 75 years ago, back in the one title days. So a little bit of a history lesson. That's why you should listen to the commentators sometimes. But let's talk about the fight. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, so I don't know if you were looking at least the build-up or the training sessions from the fight. Adrien Broner pretty much was silent as much as you can leading up to the fight. Not much on social media, not much in the press. He said he was not talking because at some point at the beginning of this training camp, or even before the fight was made, Barry Hunter and his team sat down and saying a lot of the problems that he was having, those losses to like Porter and McDonough, and the struggles that he had have become from a lack of discipline and were basically self-inflicted. So one, get his weight under control, pick a division. If you know he's been fighting 143 and 144, not fighting full-fledged welterweights or guys coming up. So he came into this fight at about 139.5. That was the first surprise right there. That shows the dedication and having a good team behind you to push you to be professional and be ready for the fight. So with this change, him actually putting in the work, the true work, the stuff that it takes to build a champion and a great fighter, coming against a guy who has seen a pretty good level of competition, but not, again, the level that Broner has seen. Right. This is a good confidence builder fight to get him ready to start fighting those A-plus fighters, the guys who are champions and are considered elite in the 140-pound division. Khabib was that step up. It's a guy he was expected to beat, and he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just a little uneventful, but you could see he was beating him to the punch. He was using the faster hands. He was actually more effective from close and mid-range when Allakhverdiev stepped in his wheelhouse.
Yeah. Basically, Allakhverdiev did the exact same thing every single round, and Broner took what he was given. He pot-shotted him all night because Allakhverdiev didn't move his head. He was able to land the uppercut because, once again, no head movement. He was able to block a lot of those shots because he was coming with the same combinations. Now, a lot of that has to do with who he is as a fighter, and some of it came from him not fighting in 18 months. I don't think I would ever have picked him over Adrien Broner, but I think it would have helped if he had some fights in the interim. It may have had him a little bit looser, a little bit more reticent to let his hands go, but he did. That's what it is. For Broner, like Rob said, he was expected to win this fight when he did. Where he gets his credit is how he did it. Now, this is something that I had mentioned to Rob that I started to notice with Broner, is that he is a very, very good late rounds fighter. You see a lot of guys, especially guys who fight in what they call the urban style, start to fade from rounds 7 to 12, or at least just taper off and level off. Broner turns it up. Broner is actively trying to get you out of there. He hurt several people in the final round of their fight. He dropped Manuel Taylor in the final round. He dropped Sean Porter in the final round. He hurt Marcos Maidana in the final round. He stops Allakhverdiev in the final round. That shows that his power is there late. That is a very good thing. That's conditioning, that's technique, and that's also real power. So we have to give him credit for that. By the 7th or 8th round, he really began to start lighting Allakhverdiev up. He hit him pretty much at will with everything, even when he started getting a little wild. But like I said, he almost had like just a willing target there. And to his credit, Allakhverdiev never went down, but the marks on his face and his body language showed that he was a beaten fighter. So when the ref did stop the fight, it was warranted because he was not being competitive at that moment. He was being beat on very badly, and there was really no hope for him. You didn't want him to sustain any unnecessary damage to where he couldn't fight again and improve on maybe the things he learned fighting Broner. Anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. Yeah. There was a couple other things I was going to say, but I'm going to leave that alone. Maybe if you guys leave a comment, we can talk about it down in the comment section if you guys want to know the other thing I was going to say. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like this video. If you have anything you want to add, any insight you saw watching the fight, drop us a comment below. You can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, CapitalofCombat, email capitalofcombat@gmail.com. Hit us up with a question. We'll put you in the combat mailbag. Stay tuned for the technical toolbox. We got that coming back very soon. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
This is round 1 and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.